Welcome to my lovely grade fours and welcome to this English home language lesson. Yesterday's lesson um, we looked at how to be creative, and I shared with you a poem that no one else has ever seen, especially for you. And in this lesson, we're going to be looking at writing skills and doing transactional writing. Okay, so it's not particularly creative writing, but you still need to plan. And sometimes, if you have to make it up, you also have to be a bit creative. So, without wasting too much of your time, grade fours, let's get started. And if you have any questions about this lesson or anything that you're not quite understanding about this lesson, please send us an email to grade4@worksheetcloud.com. And our topic for today is writing a friendly letter. So in the introduction, I did mention to you that we are going to be writing a letter, but it's going to be a friendly letter. And later on in the lesson, I'm going to explain to you what a friendly letter entails. So I'm going to get out of your way over here. And as you can see this picture, I love this picture, grade fours, because she looks so free, and she's standing by the water, and it's almost like what it used to be like when you stood by the ocean and you could just feel the breeze and the sun was setting. So I thought, let's start this lesson similar to the way we started the other lesson by being creative. So here is another little poem. Sing a song of joy, every girl and every boy. We might not be able to go out, but we can still scream and shout. So the point of this little poem is to get you to understand that yes, you might not be able to go out the house, but there are things that we still can do. Like I said, we can explore our talents, or we can run around and sing and make a noise, because we're still alive and we can do that. So for your message for today of hope and motivation, grade fours, is to sing a song of joy. Every girl and every boy, we might not be able to go out, but we can still scream and shout. So let's get started into our lesson. The lesson outline for today, and I'm in your way. Let me get out there. Okay, so our lesson outline for today is we're going to look at today's sentence. We're going to look at the writing process. What does a letter look like? Because that's important. Before we actually can write a letter, we need to know what a letter is supposed to look like. The purpose of a letter. And then lastly, we're going to look at writing a letter. So that is what we are going to be looking at in today's lesson, grade 4. So, today's sentence. The girl in the dress smiled. That is my sentence, okay? And as you can see, there are a few words that are surrounding the sentence. These words are adjectives or adverbs. And I want you to use these words in the sentence to spice it up a little. So I want you to spice up the sentence a bit so that we can make the sentence sound a bit more interesting. And I know, and you know, that adverbs or adjectives creates an effect, an image in your mind when you are using them, because they are descriptive words. So I'm going to leave the sentence on for a bit with the adjectives around them and adverbs around them, so that I can give you a chance to try and make the sentence as descriptive as you possibly can. So let's take a look at the words that we have in front of us. We have beautiful, tall, graciously, pink, and floral. So each of these words we can try and use in our sentences grade 4s, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to write the sentence out and space it out as much as you can so that you can slot these words in. Because in the beginning, you can already maybe see that beautiful can come in front of the girl. And the girl can obviously wear a tall dress. So the girl could possibly, you could possibly say the tall, beautiful girl or the beautiful, tall girl in the pink dress, okay? Or the floral dress. And she smiled graciously. So that is already a way that you can kind of practice using your adjectives and adverbs in a sentence. So here we have the sentence grade 4. So if you were able to use all of those words, well done to you. That's great. And then if you were able to use only a few, that's fine also, as long as you were able to spice the sentence up. And so it was, the tall, beautiful girl in the pink floral dress smiled graciously. And that sentence changed, okay, was changed from the girl in the dress smiled. So now we have the tall, beautiful girl in the pink floral dress smiled graciously. Beautiful sentence, grade 4. So over here I have a letter. And in this letter, I'm going to show you the format or what is expected when we write a friendly letter. Okay, so the first thing that we have to look at when we see a letter on our screens or on a page, you have to look at is the address. The address is always written in the top right-hand corner of the letter. Okay, this is for your address, okay? Because remember, the address of the person that you're sending to will be on the outside because you have to post it to that person. And then you can write your address here in the top right-hand corner of the letter. After that, you skip a line and you write the date, because the date is now indicating when you wrote the letter. And that's very important for people to see, grade 4s. They need to see when you actually wrote the letter. So the date is important as well. Okay, and then as you can see, I said, Dear Lucy. And I'm going to just read the letter to you now, and then I'm going to put in the format of the letter afterwards so that you can at least have an idea of how to write the letter when it's your turn. So, Dear Lucy, I missed you so much during this lockdown. I was so used to seeing you all the time. President Ramaphosa has told us that the lockdown is extended until the end of April. I am enjoying being at home, but I also miss all my friends. I hope you are well and that you write me back. Your friend, Nicole. So that is my letter, a very short letter, simple letter, to my friend Lucy. And one of the other parts of this letter that's important is called a salutation, okay? It's almost like saluting someone, but it's a greeting, grade 4s. So my greeting's very important, and usually in a friendly letter, we start with dear and our friend's name. And here I wrote Lucy. Then we go into our introduction. Our introduction does not need to be long. It is about, it basically introduces the person to the letter, speaking about maybe if the topic like this one was the lockdown. I am now saying that I missed my friend very much and that it's been so strange during the lockdown. So the introduction is a short intro into what the letter is going to be about, okay? And now I'm already telling her that the letter is about the lockdown. Then I will get into more detail as I go into the body of my letter. Now in the body of this letter, it's very short, okay? But usually the body can be 2 to 3 paragraphs long. And in the body, you basically elaborate more on the introduction of the letter. So as I now said, I'm speaking about the lockdown and I miss it very much. Now in the body, I will go into more detail, like what was I doing during the lockdown? Why is the lockdown extended? What I've been keeping busy with, things like that I can now write in the body of my letter. And a very important part of the letter as well, grade 4's, is the conclusion. So in your conclusion, you're basically finishing off the letter and you're bringing it back to what the topic of the letter was in the first place. I wrote, I hope you are well and that you write me back. But in the conclusion of your letter, you could say, yes, this lockdown has been very long and I hope you are well and I hope you write me back. Because remember, conclusion always ties things up. And it goes the same for letters. And then the ending. The ending for a friendly letter is your friend and your name at the end. Okay? So that's how we normally end a friendly letter. So, to summarize grade 4's, you need to have an address, your address on the top right corner of your page or like the screen over here. You skip a line and you write the date. Okay? Then you skip a line and you start with a salutation on the side over here, which is your greeting. You then start with your introduction, and that introduces the person to your letter and as to say why you are writing the letter. The body, you elaborate more on the introduction of the letter. In your conclusion, you're basically tying up everything that the letter was about, and your ending will be your friend and your name at the bottom. I'm going to leave this on for a few seconds, grade 4, so that you can get a good understanding of the format of a friendly letter. Okay, so let's move on. What are the reasons that people write friendly letters? Well, friendly letters are conversational, friendly and informal. So it's like having a conversation with someone. It doesn't have to be formal language. You can even use slang in your letters because remember, it's called a friendly letter. So that means you can write to your friend and speak how you would normally speak to your friend. If you had to call your friend a nickname or say, how's it going? That is perfect because it's an informal way of writing. However, if you are being assessed on your friendly letter, your punctuation must still be correct. So, letters are written to inform. So I could be writing a letter to inform my friend or someone of something. Like, for example, I'm informing my friend of the lockdown and how it's been. Letters are also written to invite people. So that you can say, please be invited to my party, and I can explain to the person or an invitation to come and spend holiday time with me. Okay, it can also be used to congratulate someone, and it can also be used to offer condolences. So I've included this in my slide so that you can get an understanding as to why letters are written, okay, and what is the use of letters. Now, you would say, but now with modern technology, you have phones and you have emails, but I must admit there's something special about the written word still. And I would feel so special if someone sent me a letter today still. Okay? And that's not saying that I don't want to get an SMS or a WhatsApp message. I'm just saying that it's also special if I could possibly get a letter as well. So I encourage you, grade 4s, to write each other letters and express yourself in the written word. So the writing process. And the writing process now I'm going to take you through as to what you would now need to do when you are busy writing your letter or planning to write your letter. So, firstly, we will look at our planning, and we first have to look at the topic. So we look at the topic and we try and gain as much information as we can from the topic. Remember, the instructions are very important. So reading the instructions of an activity or an assessment is important. Why? Because that's where it's telling you what you're going to actually be marked on. So if you're not listening or reading the instructions carefully, you're already starting on the wrong foot. We can then plan. We can use brainstorming activities such as a mind map to plan. So once we have our topic, we can start brainstorming and thinking, okay, where am I going to go from here? Then the format. Now the format's not always used in every single writing process, okay? But for me, I've included it because letters are very important because of their format. So once we have completed planning, we use the frame of a letter. Now in the previous slide, well, not the previous one, the previous one, we looked at how I wrote a letter to my friend Lucy. And in that letter, I had a specific format where the address was, the date, the salutation, the conclusion, the ending of my letter. That format is extremely important when it comes to writing a letter because that is what you get marked on. At least one of the topics that you get marked on. So grade 4s, you need to be very careful when you are writing out your letter and stick to the format. Then you will make your first draft. Your first draft is your first attempt at writing the letter. You make sure you are writing it in the correct format. And once you have completed your first draft, you can ask someone to edit it for you. Now, in this case, normally you would ask your teacher or one of your peers at school to edit it for you. But for now, you're going to actually have to ask mommy or daddy or grandma or grandpa, whoever you're staying with, to edit this letter for you because I'm going to give you an activity on a letter after that. So it's important to make your first draft, get someone to edit it for you, and then after that, you will make your final draft. So after the editing has taken place, you can write your final draft. And your final draft will be the one that you would possibly have handed in to your teacher for assessment. So why do we have to do the editing process? Well, everyone's human and we like to make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time and I'm sure you grade 4s are used to it by now. I even correct my mistakes during my lessons. Some of you that can remember that. So what's important to remember is that we are human, we make mistakes, and the right thing for us to do is to check before we send our final submissions so that we don't make the mistakes in our final product. Okay. So over here I have the format of a letter, and we are looking at writing a letter. And why do I have the format here is because I am going to expect you to write a letter as an activity for me after this lesson. So that is what the activity is going to be based on. Okay, it's writing a letter. And I'm going to put the topic up for you now. Write a letter to your friend telling him or her what you miss about going to school. So even if it's break time, or if it's about going to the tuck shop during break, or whether it's your English lesson from your teacher in class, I want you to write a letter to your friend telling them or him or her about what you miss the most about going to school. And I've included what your letter format should look like, okay? So do not forget the address, then you skip a line, and I've included the skipping lines with my equal to sign. I like to do that, okay, so that you can see that is how you skip a line. You don't forget the date, the salutation, which is the greeting, introduction, your body, the conclusion, and remember your friend is how you end it. So this is how I want the format of the letter to be, grade 4s. And that is your topic. I'm giving it to you now already, but the activity is going to be included after this lesson. So now I'm in your way. So grade 4s, if you have any questions about this lesson, please send it to grade4@worksheetcloud.com. An activity is provided for you after this lesson. And grade 4s, from me, Miss Nicole Frank, I wish you a very, very warm and wonderful weekend ahead. I'm sure you're pretty excited that it's Friday, so you kind of have a break from your lessons. Don't miss me too much. And I will see you again on Monday. From me, Miss Frank, hope you enjoyed this, and goodbye.